Welcome to the 10th chapter of the book of Joshua. We have found that Joshua and the sons of Israel are over here on the other side of the Jordan, stationed in Gilgal. They defeated Jericho and Ai, which was fairly close over here between Gibeon and Ai, the last chapters. And it continues, and it says, and as Adoni-Sedek, King Vasileph's basilica, comes from that, king of Jerusalem, heard Ekusen, at the time the Jebusites had control of Jerusalem, not the Jews. Now, there was another name for it before it was called Jerusalem. I can't think of what it was, but we'll run across that here a little bit. And when David conquers it and makes it his capital. And so he heard Ekusen, acoustics comes from that Jesus took Gai Ai and utterly destroyed it, in which manner he did to Jericho and her king. And thus they did also to Ai and her king. Now, here it's got Avtin, if you see it right here. Avtin, 1473. If you look in your analytical lexicon, either online where you can download it, or it's in this book here, and go to 1495, and you'll see that Avtin is in the feminine gender in Greek grammar. But in English, a city is not generally called she, but there are things in English that are called a she, that are inanimate objects like a city. She's a beautiful ship. They call the ship a boat, a she, or the wind. She's really a blowing today. There are quite a few of these inanimate objects that are used with the pronoun she, personal pronoun she. With the masculine, not very many. I couldn't find very many. One place would be if I was walking down the street and I saw somebody with a dog, I wouldn't generally ask what sex it is first before I ask anything. I would say, is he a good dog? I could say, is it a good dog? Either one. So the he is not used so much as the she is. And so here we have the she. So her or she. She is the subject, as you'll see in the English analytical lexicon. And her is used with the object, ton Vasilea, Avtis, her king. If it was she, that would be the city. She was a large city. Or she had a large population, would probably be better. That would be in the feminine, but it wouldn't. It would be in the nominative. You can see by the spelling if something is in the nominative, that is, it's the subject of a sentence, or an indirect object called a dative, or a genitive, which is a possessive of it's the city of David. Now, the of would make it a genitive, and the accusative would be the object. And so you get all that from the English derivatives book, really worth getting, or now getting the printed edition. I'm not sure anymore. I went to find out who would print it, and it was so expensive. I don't know if it'll be printed again, but you can download the file, fairly reasonable. So he knew, this king, Adonai-Bezek, of all that they did, and that the ones dwelling in Gibeon deserted to Esun. And we remember those people pretended they came from far off and made a pact. And to Israel. the Gibeonites defected to Israel and were in the midst of them, so they intermingled, that they feared among themselves exceedingly, for he knew that Gibeon was a great city, polis, metropolis, the fear, the phobia is the fear. All these books, all these orange numbers are in our book, English Derivatives from the Greek New Testament. And so they knew this as also one of the mother cities of the kings, that is Gibeon. Zadonai knew how great it was, for it was great over Ai, and all its men were strong of Gibeon. Yet they made a pact with Israel. And Adonisedek, king of Jerusalem, sent to Elam, king of Hebron. Now Hebron is, Jerusalem is, where is Jerusalem? There it is. Hebron is down here, West Bank today. And Piram, king of Yarmouth, there it is. And to Iafi, king of Lachish, and there it is. And to Deber, king of Eglon. I couldn't find Eglon. Odolam maybe is, I don't see that on here either. And so he said in the letter, "Come, ascend to me and help me, and we shall wage war against Gibeon." Ekpolemisomen, the verb, polemics comes from that, war of words. So you can put that in the English Derivatives book. For it is deserted to Esun and to the sons of Israel. So they wanted to attack Gibeon, not the sons of Israel. And they gathered and ascended, the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, king of Hebron, and the king of Jerimoth, and the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, they and all their people. And they besieged Gibeon, which was right over here, and attempted to capture it. And the ones dwelling Gibeon sent to Esun into the camp of Israel in Gilgal, he's up here, saying, "Do not loosen your hands from your servants." Don't forget about us. Don't leave us alone with having to fight all these people. Loosen your hands. It was, a Hebrewism. It was something that they would say. "Ascend to us quickly and rescue us and help us, for all the kings of the Amorites are gathering against us, the ones dwelling in the mountainous area." So that would be over in the mountainous area here. And Esus ascended from out of Gilgal, he and every polemistes, and you can add that again as a polemics, war of words. Put that in your English Derivatives book. He and every warrior with him ascended from out of, and almighty in strength. And Kyrios said to Esun, "Do not phobithes, phobe them, for into your hieros, chiropractor, hero, hand, I have delivered them. There shall not stand even one of them before you." They're going to be gone. And when Esus came upon them suddenly, in the parentheses I'm adding here now for the next version, for the entire night he was gone from out of Gilgal, that the Lord startled them from in front of Israel. Now, and the Lord defeated them with a great defeat in Gibeon. This is the doings of the Lord. It wasn't the people. And we'll see later how God had caused this defeat. Actually, it was just down a few verses with hail. And so it's important to know that the Lord is the one that gets the credit, not the Israeli army. Today I look at Israel and I see a lot of glorification of their military and not very much glorification of their God, which is, to me, a terrible thing, sad, and it is what it is. But here he writes that there was the defeat by the Lord. When we go through problems and we pray to God, then he should be the one that gets the glory. God did this. And I had a neighbor across the street and another friend, and neither one of them were believers at the time. And I broke my leg. I couldn't get downstairs, and my telephone was back in the olden days where it was on a wire. And it was getting all kinds of static, and I wasn't able to get a phone call. And when I have a broken leg, I want to call for help and different things. It's pretty bad. So I saw these two friends, and they mentioned if there's anything they can do to help. And I told them, well, I have this phone, and I can't get it working right. It doesn't work right. So they came over, and the one guy fooled around with the wires and got it to work. And the other fellow come in the house, and he says, is it working? And I said, yes, praise the Lord. And he said, well, why are you praising the Lord? Don's the one that fixed it. So I was like, yeah, well, okay, Don fixed it, but giving praise to the Lord, really, I know who fixed it. And it's something I can use for a story in these Bible seminars, which is pretty striking how the person that doesn't know the Lord, of course, would never give him the glory. And it continues. The Jews pursued them by the way, Odon, the way, ascending to Beth Horon. Odometer comes from that. This is what the early Christians were called, with the way, in Genesis, around 9 or 10, Acts 9 or 10. They went by the way of Beth Horon. I couldn't find Beth Horon on here, unless I'm missing it. And they slew them unto Azekah and Makkedah. Here's Makkedah. So they came over there, slew them. But in their fleeing, Fevgin, that is a word that we have, fugitive, comes from that, fuge and Fevgin. But in their fleeing from in front of the sons of Israel, upon the descent of Beth Horon, that the Lord cast upon them stones of hail from out of the Uranu, the heaven, unto Azekah. I don't see Azekah, but anyway, the hail. And there were more dying by the stones of hail than which were killed by the sons of Israel by sword in the battle. So nature took its course, God using the hail. He will use the hail again in the future. Mentions that in the book of Ezekiel, weighing like 100 pounds apiece, destroying a lot of the earth, people being killed, animals. Then Esau spoke to the Lord in the day God delivered up the Amorites under the hands of the sons of Israel. So now it's kind of going back, and Esau said, let the sun stand over Gibeon, and the moon over the ravine of Ajalon. And the sun and the moon stood in position until God repulsed their enemies. Is this not written in the scroll of the upright? And the sun stood in the midst of the heaven. It did not go forth into descent for the completion of one day. And there was not such a day, nor former, nor latter, so as for God to heed the voice of man, that would be Jesus, because the Lord joined in war with Israel. Well, I'm not an expert in science. I don't know exactly how this could have happened. If it did, the repercussions, if you thought that the sun would stay in one spot, how it would change the weather and so forth. Other people better than I in the sciences could probably come up with different reasons. I'm sure they come up with reasons why it couldn't happen, but and hopefully there's somebody that has a reason how this would have happened if God kept the sun. I wouldn't think that the earth stood still, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an expert in science, nor am I an expert in women, so I'm going to leave those things up to others. Verse 14, there was not such a day nor former or latter so as for God to heed the voice of man, because the Lord joined in war with Israel. So he heeded Jesus' command. And Jesus returned, and all Israel with him to the camp in Gilgal. So they go back up here. And these 5 kings fled and hid in the cave in Makkedah over here. And it was reported to Esau, saying, the 5 kings have been found hiding in the cave in Makkedah. Now here we have the Esau and the dative. They reported to Joshua. So you can see where it should be 2. The Tav Omega would make it to the Joshua, but we don't use the in English, so I didn't put it there. So they found him hiding in the cave, and Joshua, Esau, said, roll megalus, lithus, great stones upon the stomata of the spileu. Stoma, we have the stomach. Stomata has to do with the mouth of the cave. Spileu, we have spelunkers, people that are explore caves. And these derivatives come from these Greek words. Now this is another, it's not a Hebrew, it's a mouth of the cave. Cave doesn't have a mouth. It has an opening, but yet it's using a figure of speech of something of the body for something that is inanimate object. And he says, place upon them men to guard them. But you do not stand off pursuing after your enemy. So a few men stayed there guarding the cave, but overtake their rear guard and do not let them enter into their cities. So continuing after these people. For the Lord our God delivered them into our hands, again giving God the glory. And it came to pass, as Jesus rested, and the sons, that should be a sons. I need to put a marker here, I suppose. Well, I'll remember. Let's see if I can find it. Well, I don't see the marks to do that, so I'll have to do it later. The sons of Israel, right here, because the E is plural. Well, that's strange because it would be E of Israel instead of Eos is singular, but E is plural, so something's wrong right here, and I'll find out what that is. See if I can. I don't see any. No. Oh, now what do we got here? Son of Israel. There it is, I suppose. Now, can I get rid of that thing? And beat them with an exceedingly great slaughter, even unto completion, that the ones surviving were delivered from them and entered into the fortified cities. So a lot left and went back to the cities. And all the people returned to Esun in Makkedah, in the camp in health. Igeis We have hygiene comes from that, ygis. And not one of the sons of Israel growled with his tongue. There was no complaining figure of speech. And Isus said, open the spileon, the cave, and lead out to me these 5 kings. Pente, a pentagon, 5-sided building in New Washington, D.C., from out of the spileon. And they did thus, and led to him these 5 kings from out of the spileon, the king of Jerusalem, and the king of Hebron, king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And when they led them to Esun, then Esun called together every man of Israel, saying to them, and the ones commencing the war going with him, saying to them, go forth and place your feet upon their necks. So some warriors, basically, soldiers, put your feet on their necks. And coming forward, they placed their feet upon their necks. And Isus said to them, you should not phobithete, fear, phobia, them, nor be timid. Be manly and be strong, for thus the Lord shall do to all your enemies whom you make war against them. Imperative. And after this, Isus killed them. Now, whether he did it himself or had them done, doesn't say. And put them to death, and hung them upon 5 trees. A xylon is what Jesus was hung upon. They call it a tree, but it's not a tree with, it's generally a dendron is a tree with branches with green leaves on it. The xylon can be a timber, also a tree. And they were hanging upon the xylon until Asperas, evening. We have the Vesper service in the liturgy. And it came to pass towards the descent of the Eliu, helium comes from that, the sun, and Joshua or Isus gave charge, and they lowered them from the xylon. And they tossed them into the spileon, into which they took refuge there. So back into the cave, their dead bodies. And they rolled great stones upon the spileon, which remains until the day to day. And Joshua took Makkedah in that day and slaughtered it by the mouth of the blade. Here's another figure of speech. A blade does not have a mouth. The edge is considered the mouth for why I don't know, because it's the thing that does the first cutting, the devouring it. And the king, they slaughtered it, and they utterly destroyed them in Makkedah over here, and everyone breathing that was in it. And there was not left behind in it anyone surviving. And they did to the king of Makkedah in which manner they did to the king of Jericho. So they killed him and hung him up again. And Isus went forth, and all Israel with him, from out of Makkedah unto Libnah. I'm trying to find Libnah. Can't find it. And they assaulted against Libnah. And the Lord delivered it also into the hand of Israel. And they took it, and its king, and they slaughtered it by the mouth of the blade, and every one breathing that was in it. There was not left behind in, now see, if I use her or it, down here is an it, in her. I could have used her, but I don't know which way to go, hit her or it. There was not left behind in it, her, not even one surviving and having escaped. And they did to her king, see here, or its king, in which manner they did to the king of Jericho. And Isus went forth, and all Israel with him, from out of Libnah unto Lachish. And there it is down here. and besieged it, and assaulted it, or her. And the Lord delivered Lachish into the hands of Israel, and he took it on the second day, and he slaughtered it. Maybe I'll change these to her. What do you think? Let me know. And he took her on the second. See, it doesn't sound right. And he took her on the second day, and he slaughtered her by the mouth of the blade, and utterly destroyed it, in which manner he did to Libnah. Then Horam, the king of Gezer, that's right here, ascended to help Lachish, and Esau struck him by the mouth of the blade. Xiphus. It's not a sword, it's a blade like a knife. And his people, until there was not being left behind of them, one being delivered and escaping. And Esau went forth, and all Israel with him, from out of Lachish unto Eglon. There's Lachish, but I don't see an Eglon. And he besieged it, captured it, and the Lord delivered it into the hand of Israel. And he took it in that day, and slaughtered it by the mouth of the blade, and everyone breathing in it. In that day they slaughtered, in which manner they did to Lachish. And Joshua went forth in all Israel with him from Eglon unto Hebron, and they besieged it. And they overtook it and struck it by the mouth of the blade, and its king, and all its villages, and every one breathing, as many as was in it. There was not one surviving, in which manner they did to Eglon. Even they utterly destroyed it, and all breathing as was in it. The dislike of sin I see here, of these people were doing terrible things, of sacrificing their children to idols and so forth. And God has no problem here of telling the sons of Israel to completely destroy these people. Put it under anathema, everybody, women and children. So if God can do that, God can do the same thing with us, sinners. If he wants to, he could say, you're a sinner and you deserve to be put to death, and then you deserve to go to Hades because of the terrible things you were doing. Because God sees the sin in how horrible it is. We may not, because we're enjoying it, but God does. And then Jesus mentions how once we are in Hades, that the fire is not quenched. It's going to be apparently forever. Well, some people have a hard time with that, thinking that God is not that kind of a mean God, that he would do something like that. Well, the reason I'm saying this is that these people then should read the 10th chapter of the book of Joshua, or Jesus, because God is capable of doing that, because he orders the Jewish sons of Israel to do that. And so we can learn from this story. And Jesus returned, and all Israel with him, to Debir. And I'm trying to find Debir on here. And they besieged it. See Debir? Don't see it. It might be there somewhere, and I just can't see it. And they took it and its king and all its towns, and they struck it by the mouth of the blade, and utterly destroyed it, and everyone breathing in it, and they did not leave behind one surviving. In which manner they did to Hebron, so they did to Debir, and to its king, just as he did to Libnah and to its king. And Esau struck all the land of the mountainous area, and over here in the Negev, which is down here south, and the plain over here, and Ashdod. Ashdod is down in here in Gaza. In all its kings, they did not leave behind in it one being delivered. and every one breathing life they utterly destroyed, in which manner the Lord God of Israel gave charge to destroy it. And Jesus killed them from Kadesh Barnea unto Gaza. Gaza's over here. Kadesh, I believe, is down in here somewhere. All the land of Goshen unto Gibeon, and I believe in Goshen is over here by Egypt. And all these kings and their land Jesus took at once, for the Lord God of Israel joined in war with Israel. And Joshua returned unto Gilgal, up here. But the fighting doesn't stop. The conquering of the area and the people against it. Find out what happens to these people in chapter 11. Hope you'll join us in the next video seminar. And until then, God bless.